Where does a person find balance between no attachment and engaging in a relationship? If dealing with a person who has many attachments, how do we deal with that person using compassion? So this first question is broken down into two parts. But how do we get a balance between no attachment and engaging in a relationship? If you engage in a relationship, you cannot get away from attachment. But the level of attachment, how attached you are, depends on your own mentality. Now, first of all, let us get the relationship clear. As you say, if you are engaged in a relationship. Nowadays, relationships seem to be so multifaceted, so various. Some relationships are wholesome relationships, some are unwholesome relationships, some are neutral relationship. I don't know what kind of relationship you are. If you are in a relationship that is similar to the fatal attraction, it will be fatal to you. If you're in a relationship that is like, I don't know, so many relationships. So a relationship itself is an attachment, whether that is a sound attachment, normal attachment, or an unsound, abnormal attachment really counts when we talk about attachment. Assuming that your relationship is a normal relationship, which I mean that you're husband and wife, and that you are really faithful to that relationship. And that relationship, I didn't see any obvious bad effects from that relationship, assuming that way. And what's the balance between no attachment? When you have a relationship, you're talking about love. L-O-V-E, love. When you're talking about love is mostly conditional. As a matter of fact, it's almost like it's conditional. I love you on the condition that you love me. If I love you and you don't love me, I don't like it, right? That is a conditional relationship. Love is conditional. And all loves have to be reciprocated. In other words, even if I love you and you love me, if you don't reciprocate it in the way I do, then sufferings or misunderstandings may occur. And given that so many different personalities in life, I haven't really seen a relationship that is almost like untainted, that's almost like all happy, that is free from suffering. Most relationships have sufferings, have mental defilements. It's very difficult to analyze something like that because I don't have enough information. We all have broken up our relationship that way. All these monks and nuns, they have given up their love relationship because they know that kind of relationship will accrue to many fatal things that would happen. So we try to break away from relationship. We are living in a world of relationship. You're related to the husband and wife, you're related to the kids. When you are a kid in your family, you're related to your parents. And all relationships have intricacies of sensitive interactions. That's the reason why there are quarrels and fights in the family. Every personality is different. When you're a kid, so you're interacting with your parents, and it depends on what kind of parents you have. If you have an alcoholic father, if you have a gambler mom, and then or if you're bullied at school, the relationship with your school is at stake where you don't like it. All kinds of relationships give rise to many, many feelings, many, many sensations, many, many unpleasant and pleasant and all that. And how can we define it? It's too general a question that I cannot really specifically tie it down to. And imagine when you're a kid, you're related to your parents, and then even if you have a clean relationship, okay, well, after you grow up, and then you're related to the society, you're related to your career, you're related to your studies, and then when you have dating, you're related to your girlfriend, and then you have a family, then you have a new family, then you have kids. This relationship have responsibility though. And when you talk about responsibility, there is expectation. Different parties have different expectation. The wife has certain expectations of the husband. The husband has certain expectations of the wife. And the parents have expectations of the children have expectations of the parents. All these created contradictions. All these created suffering. Of course, in the process of interacting with relationships, sometimes we have happiness. But this happiness is fleeting. This happiness is not permanent. This happiness, it's very intricate. We try to simplify our relationship when we practice the Buddhist teaching. That's the reason why we renounce the world by saying become a monk or a nun. Then we have broken up the family relationship. It does not mean that we deny mom and dad. We still have mom and dad. We still love them. But we don't want to involve with the intricacies of this relationship. You have to divorce your wife, your husband, to get into the eternal practice of becoming a monk or a nun, and you want to give up your relationship. So we want to give up relationship. You have to give up in order to achieve at the right understanding. It does not mean that you hate this relationship. It's different. You don't want to have the intricacies of this relationship so that you can practice the spiritual enlightened way. That's the reason why a prince called Siddhartha Gautama gave up the relationship as a king, as a future king, as a prince. All his relationship with all these courtesans, with all these wives and mistresses in the palace, gave up all the relationship of luxuries and all that, and went into the woods to practice his enlightenment endeavor. And after 8 years of severe practice, he became successful in overcoming mental afflictions and become the Buddha, transcending life and death, and not to be rolled into the karmic energy of samsara, life and death. So I guess relationship could be very intricate. Most relationships turn sour after a while, very complicated. However, don't attach to relationship. I always have ladies and men coming up. They came up to me and said, I had a divorce, and my wife divorced me, and we had a third party, and we ended up in very, very unhappy relationship, and we got divorced. And my response is, I said, congratulations. You are free from the relationship. You are free from the bondage of a marriage. You are free to practice. You have freedom. Congratulations. And as I explained and explained, he said, oh yeah, I think that's right. And then he said, okay, I gave up this relationship. And then it's gone. He's gone with a happy feeling. But no sooner did the feeling linger, he struck up another relationship. And he got into troubles again. So what can I do? All right, so I don't know how to answer this question. Get away from the relationship. get ordained and shave away all your hair and get away all this relationship and become a nun or a monk. It doesn't mean that you don't have mom and dad, you still love them, but you are on a higher level now. You are in pursuit of that spiritual odyssey to become enlightened. You want to get away from samsara of life and death. You want to get away from reincarnation. You want to be aloof from all these sufferings. And what is more important, not just for your own self, for all sentient beings. We have a feeling of not just liberating ourselves. We want to help others to liberate from the bondage of relationship. Can you do that? Next question. If dealing with a person who has many attachments, how do we deal with that person using compassion? If you're using compassion, the first word that comes to my attention when I'm answering this question is forgiveness. Can you use forgiveness because you were saying that he has many attachments, right? Forgiveness, understanding. This is a general question that require a lot of specific studies of how to do it. I think the first thing to simplify my answer is change yourself first. Don't expect others to change. I want my husband to be more lovable. I want my husband to love me more. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. Why don't you say, I change myself and I'm satisfied with my current situation. I want to improve, but I want to become more compassionate. I want to have more loving kindness. I want to be more altruistic instead of being egoistic, and change myself first. If I can change myself, I can tolerate others better. I can radiate my loving kindness better. If you haven't changed yourself and expect your husband, your children, your dad, your mom to change, to tailor to your own needs, you're not practicing it. You're just being selfish. You want others to change to suit to your own needs. Change yourself, be more patient, to be more tolerable, be more compassionate, be more forgiving, and then wonders will come out. Because by changing yourself, you are at the same time giving. You can only change yourself. You can only give more by changing yourself. And what bounce out, if you bounce out compassion, it will bounce back to you manifold. This is what I learned when I was at Vernon, to refresh my memory. The Newton's theory of kinetic energy. An action goes out will be counterforced by an equal and opposite reaction. You give out some loving kindness, and the loving kindness will bounce back to you. You give out fury, selfishness, violence, the violence will bounce back to you. And it bounces back manifold more. It's just like a ripple effect. If throw a stone into a pond, it ripples out, many ripples out, goes to the edge, it bounces back to the center. Manifold. Do your thoughts eventually stop as you grow in your meditation practice? Depends on if you practice it well. Are you practicing the right introspection, the right meditation? Watch out. Many people teach you from a book. Many people teach you from a video. Many people, after they watch a certain video and some books, they open up a meditation center and start to teach. So, if you receive the wrong meditation practice, it will only get worse. So make sure that you have the right introspection, the right meditation practice in accordance with the Buddhist teaching. And you have to have the right judgment as to whether your mentor is really giving the right practice. You should know. If what they're asking is just $120 per month, a session of 2 hours per session, and 4 sessions per, how many sessions per year, and you got to pay up first, then you have to think about it. And if they say, okay, when you come to meditation, you have to buy a cushion from me, and that cushion is $40. And if you come on Saturday and Sunday, then they would give you a discount of 10% and that kind of thing. They're only looking for money. Or they say, if you have the right meditation, you will get supernatural power. You have clairvoyance, you have audience, you will have all kinds of natural powers. You'll be more successful. You'll make more money. You think that's the right meditation? Remember, meditation is to let go, to give up. The more you give up, the more successful you will be. Give up your emotions. Give up your jealousy, your hatred, your greediness. Give that all up. Meditation is to give up bad things, not to acquire. Learning, ordinary learning is to acquire. I want to learn how to install a computer. Then I will have to learn how to buy my disk drive, how to get all these equipments from different channels. I learned how to do it, right? This is to acquire, to get. But meditation is not learning how to acquire. Meditation is learning how to let go, how to give up. Give up your jealousy, give up your hatred, give up your anger, give up your anxiety. It's a process of giving up. Next question. Is there a book that you would recommend that contains the principle you spoke about during morning session? Most people are always in this lifetime in the process of looking for books. I remember when I was, since being a teenager up to the age of 40, I have all my shelves filled up with videos and books and videos and books. And finally one day I said, I'm not looking for books anymore. Because every one of these books, I only read about 10 pages and then I put them down. And some I read maybe half of it. And books, sometimes they may give me the wrong information. I'm still looking for that book, how to pass the examination without studying hard. I always have been looking since grade 1. I don't like to study. I don't like to lock myself in a room study. I always look for what that book is called. I remember somebody told me that there's a book that teaches how to get an A in examination without studying hard. I can't find that book, even up to now. So don't blindly believe in the book. You have to practice it. Dear Honorable, I have a very long commute to and from work. Is it possible to meditate during the time while I'm driving? Don't close your eyes though. You're in trouble. If you're driving, you close. Oh, I want to shut out all my materiality. My eyes are attaching to forms, so no forms. Then you get into trouble. And don't shut up your ears because you can't see honking. Dangerous honking, reminding you to stop or reminding you not to bypass lanes. So you always have to be alert when you're driving. But at the same time, sometimes I can do a little bit of chanting. I can chant Om Mani Padme Hum. Because most people are multitask. They can chant at the same time when they're paying attention to the road. But some people, they cannot multitask. When they're doing something, for example, if they're preparing, if they're preparing food, they can talk to you at the same time. But some people, they cannot. So if you're not multitask, don't do it. Only if you are multitask. But most people, at least they can do two things at the same time. They can drive at the same time, and they can also chant at the same time. But I'm reminding you not to shut up your eyes, not to close your eyes and all that. So you still have to be alert. And if you're multitask, you can chant. Chanting is a kind of meditation too. But don't daydream when you are driving. And don't sleep when you're driving. People, if you're getting some seniors, when they're driving, when they're too tired, they would doze off in a sleep and then they got accidents. So watch out. If you're sitting, when you're driving, you should really maybe doing chanting meditation. You can do chanting meditation. Om Mani Padme Hum chanting, you can listen back to the chanting. It's just like when you are turning on the radio to listen to some music when you're driving, but you can chant at the same time. And some people, they are so multitask that they practice singing while they're driving too. Many great singers, they practice singing when they're driving. I know of 2 singers, old singers, who actually got their training from singing while driving and become very famous singer. Elvis Presley. He was a truck driver on the road for a few years, and he was practicing every day when he was driving. Nobody could listen to him, he just drive. He became the king of rock and roll. And then there's another guy in Britain called, what is his name? Matt Monro. Have you ever heard of Matt Monro? So raise your hands if you know who is Matt Monro. So you're old enough.
Born free.
Huh?
Born free.
Born free, so you're old enough. Because Matt Monro passed away many years ago. And if he's still living, he's probably in his 80s. And he has so many good songs. Born Free and From Russia with Love and many. My Way even, all these. Matt Monro was a school bus driver for many years. He was known to be, what do you call that, singing while he was driving. They attached a nickname to it. And then he was drafted into the armies during the war or something. And he was stationed in Hong Kong, the British Navies or I don't know, Air Force. He was in Hong Kong, and when he made use of this part-time to sing in a pub. So he started his career in Hong Kong. Nobody knew about it, with a Filipino band. And he became so famous.